Hey everyone. I've lurked in here for the better part of 6 months now. Finally just need to get my situation off my chest. My 30M wife, 32F, and I have been together for a little more than 5 years, married for 2 years at this point. We have a son, who is nonverbal ASD but very high-functioning and communicative otherwise. He's an absolute joy and everybody loves him to death. For background information, my wife is a serial cheater. I knew this getting into our relationship, so I'm not really surprised that this ended up happening. That being said, I felt like her and I connected on a way I haven't with any LTR in the past, so I accepted that risk willingly. She's had issues with her family growing up, nothing physically abusive, but always felt neglected. She's incredibly smart, but also incredibly pessimistic. It's like a black cloud hangs over her head all the time. She refuses to acknowledge a mental health issue and as such won't seek a psych. We had a very good relationship for the first 2 years, until I found out about a possible affair she was having. Hiding texts, hours-long phone calls, etc. I was contacted by the OM's wife that she noticed this behavior as well from her husband, and that's where they cut it off. Never found any evidence of a PA, but it was likely heading that way. Her reaction, of course, was to blame me for making her feel like she pulls more than her own weight in our relationship and that I'm too emotionally fragile. I have MDD/GAD, which was somewhat managed at the time, but not as well as it is now. I had to do the pick-me dance and suddenly, she was happy again. One problem. She refused to talk about it whatsoever. In her words, she's over it now. So there's nothing to talk about. So yeah, festering wound we never addressed. Starting around April last year, she clearly was exhibiting emotional distance and wouldn't say what was wrong. Noticed some texts pop up that she would immediately dismiss, hide, and delete. She treated sex like a chore, even though we still had sex 1-2/week. Around May I started noticing her on the phone all the time, but would get upset when I asked who she was talking to. Told me she was going out with a friend one weekend, and when I asked to join, I know this friend, too, she snapped at me. Despite this, we were house shopping at the time and we closed on a house the following month. I know we were having some issues, but I wasn't about to give up this chance of homeownership. The house is in the name of my father, myself and my wife. My father put down $400,000 on the house, and we split the mortgage 3 ways. The day after we move in, she sits down with me and says she wants to break up. She's just not happy, and really can't explain why. She clearly shows signs of extreme guilt. A few hours later, I get a text that she's going out for an hour or so. It's midnight at this point. I track her on the Tesla app and she goes straight to this guy's house whose name I saw pop up in her texts. I looked him up on Been Verified ahead of time. By 3 a.m. she comes home. I confront her about a potential affair and she just says she doesn't want to talk about it. For the next few months, things just slowly get worse and worse. Some days she's nice to me and we talk, laugh and hang out like everything is still great. Then some days I hear her having fights with him over the phone and she's miserable and shitty towards me all night. First she stops responding to my texts altogether. Then she starts removing all photos of us from social media. She tells her father and brother that she broke up with me, but thinks it's too soon to tell them that she found somebody else. She has a tattoo with our son's name on her ankle, with a picture of a cartoon ladybug, because he's our cuddle bug. Our son and I share the same name. Apparently, that caused an argument between her AP and her, so she's looking to have it removed now. She no longer is okay with me driving her Tesla, even though it's in my name, also. She's become an extremely negligent mother, as well. She works second shift so she's asleep while my son is at school, working when he's home. Then when she gets home he's already in bed. She doesn't see him at all, except for the weekends, if she's home and not at her AP's house. It's worth noting too that he's not living with a wife or anything, he lives with his mother and sister in a condo. She spent Thanksgiving at his house instead of with her son. She tried to abandon our son, screaming and crying, banging his head against the window as she walked out the door, on Christmas until I verbally shamed her. It's okay, go spend Christmas with your narcissist instead of your own F-king son. Be a part-time mom. We don't argue, never really have, and still don't despite all this. For me to get upset like that is very rare. I'll make occasional disparaging remarks, like last weekend when she stayed home the whole night. I said like, wow, that's different. The narcissist isn't demanding his tribute tonight. To go back to her negligence towards our son though. She actually won a bid to move to first shift so she could be with him more often. This was last January. Come May, when it was time to change to first, she desperately begged her supervisor to find a spot for her to stay on second shift. It came with a pay cut, but she stayed. Now I see why she was so determined to stay on second shift. The AP works on second shift. Now when I call him a narcissist, let me add in here a crucial detail: she keeps a journal where she writes personal notes and love letters to him. She also has a second, self-discovery, journal that she writes all these affirmations in. It just kinda seems like cope to me, though. Going back to the first journal, this is how I found out that it's 100% an affair. She dates these letters and puts incredible detail into them. He's frequently fighting with her over any slight to him or his status. I overheard a fight between them once where he said, "I feel like I'm not your number one priority, and I **should be your number one priority." In these letters, she frequently has fights with him over not thanking him enough for certain things, like him picking her up a smoothie for lunch, or sending her some money for food on Zelle, etc. She apparently made a comment to him that she couldn't wait to be a part of his family, to which he blew up, saying something along the lines of, "What? You're not thankful for my positive qualities and traits, my wife has a love for her stuffed animals, many of which she's had since she was a child," but in her notes she says he's accosted her over it, that it was weird and childish. She has multiple notes where she wrote down all her failings, including things like not being enlightened in the same way he is, whispering too much on the phone with him, not prioritizing their relationship, not making any steps to improve her situation, wearing a necklace an ex bought for her, not being affectionate enough, and so on. When she's on the phone with him, I've noticed she goes completely mute with me, like he'll get pissed if he hears her talking with me. Even blinded by lime rents, she acknowledges here and there in these letters that she is unsure of whether or not this is a good relationship. But alas, she just can't bring herself to leave him, I guess. It also looks like he's stressing her to get a divorce. In these notes she almost never mentions her son or me, unless it's a brief quip disparaging me for, I dunno, asking her to pick up cat food or something. Speaking of which, in our talks, the only details I was able to get as to why she left me were, again, poor excuses such as her feeling like I leave too much of a mess on the nightstand or I don't take out the garbage enough. Or that when we're both home with our son, she's the one who **has *** to keep him occupied. It's worth noting that this is entirely our son's choice. I'm in one room, she's in the other. He goes to her room. If I try to keep him out, he'll scream and cry and kick the door. He **wants *** to be with her, because he never gets to see her to begin with. I work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday and see him every single day, all day. My dad, who lives with us, is retired and spends even more time with him. My wife, on the other hand, is only around when it seems like she has spare time. I could go on and on and on with more details. Maybe I'll update and add more, but I just needed to let this out. I started seeing a therapist, and my wife of course rejected a couples counselor, however, in her notes, suggests getting a couples counselor for her in the AP. What's been helping me cope is, I guess, understanding her psychology and what the dynamic is here. I don't know if I want to reconcile. I feel extremely disrespected and wouldn't want a half-assed relationship. She would have to accept full accountability for what she did, which seems nigh impossible more often than not in these situations. It seems to me like she, despite saying she was miserable with me, is simply baseline miserable whenever she's not getting the dopamine rush of an affair. Hence why she's cheated on every man she's ever dated. That's not even an exaggeration. She acknowledged this clear as day when we started dating. Again, calculated risk I took, it's whatever. What's astonishing to me is her inability to acknowledge that she's just doing the same thing again and won't recognize it. This guy is her soulmate according to the notes, but she also says they had a fight because she couldn't promise him she wouldn't cheat on him one day. That seems to me an acknowledgement, even subconsciously, that she knows exactly what she's doing. She seems very shame-motivated, in my opinion. As if she imagines, if she cuts me out of everything, makes zero contact with me and so on, she won't have to face what she did. I can't really stress this enough, up until the breakup, and even after. I did everything I could to keep her happy. I've had this same thing happen to me once years ago, with an ex whom I had a tumultuous relationship with. Because we fought a lot and I relied on her financially, she had a lot of ammunition to justify her affair. My wife has little to no such ammunition. It's like she just wants to pretend I don't exist, but simultaneously won't acknowledge the affair. One time in December I did quip to her, "At least I don't cheat on you," and she responded, "Last I checked we were broken up, Sue." Ugh, I don't know. Am I reading this psychology accurately? I haven't really tried understanding how all this happens until I discovered some subreddits such as this. This guy seems like a narcissist. He seems like he wants nothing to do with her son, just her. He wants to just remove her from our family to keep for himself, and because of the dopamine rush he gives her, she can't say no. She's at his beck and call. In a note she even acknowledges, he seems to want me to be some sort of mix of a 1950s housewife and a Muslim woman who can't leave the house without a burqa, on. I guess I feel like she's realized she's burnt the bridge with me and just resolved to press on regardless. She's been far too self-aware of who she is in the past, in my opinion, to possibly convince herself that she's not doing something awful here. To not just me, but our son. I never tell her I read her notes, but she found out once at the beginning of this all and got pissed. But still left her notebook out. Several people have said this is her way of letting me read them on purpose, but I don't believe that personally. I have photos of every note plus her entire location history. Why? I don't know. A part of me wants to out her to her entire family. They're very traditionalist and love our son too much to, in my opinion, blindly side with her, especially confronted with evidence. Is it just petty revenge? Who knows? Part of me just wants them to talk to her to get her out of this guy's grasp, even if she's not coming back to me. For the sake of our son, I guess. If she does end up filing for divorce, I plan on fighting however. I have to make sure she gets no part of that $400,000 equity my dad put into the house. And if she's going to continue prioritizing this guy over her son and continue trying to force me out of her life, I'd like as much custody over my son as I can get. Part of me wants to be spiteful and request alimony due to her adultery and the fact that I spent a good 2 years as a stay-at-home dad so she could start her career in a big pharma company, where she met this guy, of course. But I don't know. I guess I want her to realize consequences exist for what she's done, that she can't just erase me from her life and walk away with our son. I see her living in a one-bedroom apartment a year from now, by herself, this guy still telling her that her circumstances are all her fault, and she'll be even more miserable than she supposedly was with me. That might be cathartic for me to see, I guess. I'd at least like to, one day, See a time where she can finally acknowledge what she did was a mistake and apologize. But I don't know if she's willing to accept that amount of shame. Even if it comes at the cost of sacrificing a presence in her son's life. Sorry about the rant/info dump. Just looking for some thoughts and support, I guess.